The May 7th SNA meeting. We'll start with roll call and attendance. Maybe. All right. John Bowen. Joseph Bryant.
Here.
J.D. Charest.
I'm right here.
Sarah Feeney.
I'm gonna go get a pastry.
Miles Glover.
Here.
Sharon Jonason. Kay Kennison. Robert Lane.
Here.
Robert Mosier.
Here.
Josh Mutart.
Here.
Catherine O'Neill.
Here.
Todd Shiver.
Here.
Patrick Stanton.
Here.
Ashley Stubbs. Derek Whittam.
Here.
And I am present. All right, let's see. Sarah is.
Stop.
Do what?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Sorry.
All right, so we'll move to agenda approval. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to entertain. Actually, no. I'd like to add voting on request 1421 under voting for 1420. So, does that make sense? Okay. There's a vote requested for Wellington Soup. So we're going to move that under section II. Yes. Thank you. I entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the following changes.
So moved.
Is there a second? Miles, second. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, agenda approved. Last off. We'll move to approval of the minutes from April 30th, 2014. Give you guys a minute to read those if you'd like. JD?
I moved to approve the minutes from April 30th, 2014.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Oh, wow, all right, yeah, minutes approved. That's right, we had a small group last week.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move to section 5 reports. So this week I wrote a letter to the state legislature regarding, I had some discussion with some community members regarding decoupling the fee. Currently the SNA fee cannot increase more than tuition. And since there's been a tuition freeze, we're feeling the financial burden and it's going to affect student programs. So I'm going to read this letter to you guys and then hopefully I'd like a motion of support. My name is Jacob Whitman and I am the chair of the Service and Activities Committee at Central Washington University. First off, I'd like to give my appreciation for your dedication to keeping the cost of attendance at our state institutions affordable. As a student myself, I am familiar with rising tuition costs and understand the need to increase access for students who may not otherwise be able to afford the cost of higher education. With that said, as chair of the Service and Activities Fee Committee, it has come to my attention that our budget is facing an unfortunate circumstance. The inability to increase the SNA fee any more than the increase of resident undergraduate tuition as mandated by RCW 28B 15.069 has left the Service and Activities Fee Committee anticipating budget cuts to programs our students rely on. These programs promote leadership, engagement, and involvement in extracurricular activities that are vital to the success of students across the state of Washington. I urge you to review the language set forth by RCW 28B 15.069 that prohibits the increase of the SNA fee any more than the increase of resident undergraduate tuition. While I understand and support the intent of the state legislature to keep costs affordable, the SNA fee supports several programs that are necessary to the success of students at Washington State institutions. Sincerely, Jacob Whitman, SNA Fee Committee Chairperson. What do you guys think? Any feedback? Sharon?
Because I think you need to say potential shortfalls because we don't have one next year. We will only face one if tuition is frozen the fall.
So where at?
Where you say we're going to experience a shortfall.
I just said it has come to our attention that our budget is facing an unfortunate circumstance, which isn't false.
The potential, yeah, the unfortunate.
The potential.
Yeah.
It's facing the potential.
Yeah.
And each time you say increase, you might consider making it say percentage.
Yes. It's based on
Oh, okay,
percentage.
that's right.
So
So
otherwise, like if tuition went up
$500, yeah.
That's kind of
And the no, that's really good because these they're full of lawyers. So yeah. 1 second, let me find the other one. Percentage increase. Derek?
Aren't we looking at more than potential? Aren't we looking at projected?
Well, it's projected, but it's still, because we are projecting, yes.
But
because
couldn't we
it's
say
future.
projected because that's what we're looking at?
But it's not,
It's potential on the
it's only
happenstance that they.
potential
yeah.
depending on what they do in the legislature next spring for the fall, that affects the following
But
year.
as things stand right now, we're looking at a projected shortfall in 2016.
Potentially if they don't raise tuition
We
next
could
year.
say a projected shortfall in 2016 if tuition remains flat. That would be accurate.
But then then I feel like this letter would be advocating for a tuition increase when we're not advocating for that, we're advocating for them to split the S&A fee from tuition.
Yeah.
Which is why I said I urge you to review the language that prohibits the increase any more than a percentage of tuition.
Can you make sure, and I think it's only in the very first one, when it says Service and Activities Fee Committee? The very first one
It is
says
the first one. Yeah, I forgot to change it. I also wrote out instead of our.
I noticed you caught that one.
Huge
But
typo.
You
Happens
add
all the
fee
time.
to that part. So.
Oh, right here, fee too. Okay. All right. Any other comments on this? Do you guys support this letter? Oh, Robert?
So, since service and activities fee is something that's statewide with universities, is there any accounts you get from the universities that work with this?
Our fee run, I already looked this up. Our committee runs differently than other institutions.
Oh, really?
So today I looked up Western's. Actually, yesterday I did. I was going to contact their chair, but I decided not to because Western charges $179 per credit for their fee, and it gets delegated out differently. So all of their money goes to dining and housing. Their student government gets $2.2 million a year, which then goes to other constituents. So their S&A fee works very differently than ours does. So I don't know if they're having the same.
They're still bound by the same CWU.
As a point of information, our governmental affairs liaison, Steve DuPont, works very closely with other liaisons from other universities. They do have a cohort, and I think there's even a name for them, but I'm not familiar with it
Okay.
off the top of my head. But if this is something that this letter brings serious attention, and then they then call Steve in to have talks about advocating on our behalf, I know that he will take it to those other
Okay.
folks.
So do you think I should proactively talk to Steve then?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
And you might remind Steve that the university did put forward this idea 2 years ago when was the President's Council were advocating for the reinstatement in exchange for an increase.
President's Council. All right. All right, any other feedback regarding the letter?
No, council presidents.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. All right, I'd like to entertain a motion of support to communications to state legislature regarding the decoupling of the S&A fee from tuition increases, tuition percentage increases. Miles,
So,
is there a second? Robert, second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Thanks, guys. Other than that, I have nothing to report. That was the longest report of the year. Do you guys have anything to report?
Yes.
Okay.
We did get verification back from George Clark that at the April 15th Budget and Finance Committee, they approved all of our two supplemental funding requests. For the Northwest American College of Sports Medicine, Regional Conference held in Wenatchee was approved, and the CWU ROTC Cadet Military Skills Competition supplemental funding was approved as well.
Cool, thank you. Did you have anything to report? What's this year-end dinner?
The dinner.
It involves food, so it's great.
I mean, the year.
Yes, the year-end dinner.
So last year, Jack and I talked about, when we got to the last meeting, kind of at the end, and things still have to go through budget and finance and stuff. So we set aside the last meeting of the year to do kind of an appreciation dinner to the committee, for the committee. And so Joey and I have been talking and thought we would at least float the idea by to see if this year's committee would be interested in doing the last meeting as more of a social event to say thank you to participants instead of having a formal meeting to hear requests.
So there's food involved? then I'm all for it. Yeah. Any discussion on that? Yes.
Do you have a potential date?
It would be the last. So it would be June 4th. So I don't know if you guys would feel more comfortable sending Joey and I feedback through email, or if people want to state how they feel about it, or, and then we can maybe work on maybe one or two options for the committee to go ahead and decide what the route would like to do.
No
And if
feedback?
you would rather just meet here and do a formal meeting, we can do that too.
I'm for the dinner.
I don't want to be the only person to say that.
What's that?
I don't want to be the only person
Oh, yeah.
to say that.
Let's do the dinner.
First and serve ones on the
It's
phone.
not even going.
So throw out some ideas, see what all you want to be interested in.
So are we talking Costico?
Are we talking dinner here?
We're going to come up with some ideas and we'll let you know.
Oh, okay. Well, how about you guys come up with the ideas and you come back with to us?
Yeah, that was,
Oh, okay. All right. That's a good idea.
He was so entranced with the thought of food.
He
I know. I was food. You guys
He didn't even
know.
ask where. He just wanted-
He just
Yeah, that's true. Is that all you have to report about that?
yeah.
Okay, I also wanted to report that the Learning Commons task force met last week. Me, JD, a couple of people from Learning Commons, Kelsey Miller, and we had come up with a proposal for a $5 per quarter fee, which will be on the BOD ballot tomorrow. So keep a lookout for that. And originally it was $3, but I think the intent to have it 5 was to eventually pull funding from S&A so they could be fully reliant on that $5 fee. So it can help preserve some of our budget as well. All right, that's all I have to report. So any questions on that $5 fee? All right, we'll move to section 6, public comment. Is there any public comment at this time? Seeing none, I'll move to section 7, new business, subsection A. We have a request from the BOD for a new Wellington suit and additional cleaning for the amount of $6,387. And we have Scott Kasem here to present that.
All right, thank you everyone for allowing me to speak today. This is the second time I've actually spoken to the committee. Fall quarter I came here to request for a full suit to help supplement the program because of some concerns, mostly health related and also care related. But I came again today because you all asked me to come back and ask for an additional suit, so I decided to come back and ask for an additional suit. I apologize for not coming earlier. Some things happened when it prevented me from being able to come present to you. But nonetheless, let's get on with the business. I'm asking for $6,387. This money will go directly towards a new Wellington suit as well as supplement payroll. At the current moment, my account is really low because first of all, this is the first year that the office. No, it's the first year that this office has had a budget. Last year, Kelsey Firstenworth asked the S&A committee for the funds so that the office could have its own budget. But this is the first year we've had the office has had a budget. It's been an experimental year, and since a couple experiments didn't go as well as I expected, basically my budget kind of ran low. So I'm asking for an additional $500. That'll pay for a dedicated Wellington for $12 an hour for the rest of the year because I allotted $12 an hour because it's very last minute and I don't know where my train of thought was going there. I apologize. But I looked at I got the mascot suit price from Street Characters Incorporated, which is the company we've originally contracted with for the mascot suit. They're a company out of Canada, and this will be the 6th suit that we've requested from them. I know previously the committee has asked whether or not we should go out and buy the rights to the suit or go with a different company. But the thing is that the cost for buying rights to the design or going out to a different company would be around $5,000 just to get the rights from Street Characters Incorporated, and then an additional cost for trying to find a different company to go to. So this is the cheapest overall route, and I believe the best because the suit that we have at the current moment is very high quality, it's very durable, and it's done us very very well with the time we've had it. But I now open myself to questions.
Any questions? You guys remember him in the fall, right? Okay. So that we're here, yes. Catherine?
I kind of have a statement and then a question to kind of
That's a good question.
Okay. So with the current tuition freeze and the budget being kind of tight for us, why do you feel like 2 suits is necessary right now and not maybe 2 years down the road when you can save up that kind of money without a tuition freeze?
I believe that having a new suit right now would be great because the older suit that we have that's still able to be used, there are concerns about it essentially being too worn down, and also there's some parts of it that are actually falling apart, and we need to have the image of the university to be maintained. So therefore, a new suit, having 2 brand new suits, will be the best image of the current moment. Well, best option of the current moment.
Miles and then Shane.
Okay, just to clarify, you said that you're asking for $500 so you can pay someone $12 an hour to be Wellington?
Yes.
Okay, so next probably be a statement actually.
Nope, discussion. Sharon?
I just wanted to go back to the request of why we told him to come, and that's really pertinent to what you were asking, is there's been some medical issues with the suit not being cleaned as often because it has to be taken offline to be thoroughly cleaned, and you can imagine people in an enclosed breathing that was leading to it.
Ashley?
Yeah, Scott, could you speak briefly to some of the times during the year when the suit might need to be worn consecutively?
Mostly during the summer. During the summer months, definitely it needs to be worn consecutively due to the fact of orientations. Orientations, they can be 3 to 4 hour stints in the suit, about 3 to 4 days at a time. And that, first of all, is not exactly hygienic, as well as it's really difficult to make sure that the suit's dried out completely and safe to wear the next day. I'll just say for the record that I've been in the suit twice, and I'll just say that the people who are in them, they're troopers.
What, the old suit, how long have you had that for?
The previous suit, before I came to the board and asked for a new one, we've been using it for about 4 years.
Okay, and what's the average life of the suit?
Average life of the suit, if you clean it correctly and take care of it, it can be around 4 to 5 years.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? John?
So I would just like to clarify then, you currently have 1 suit that's 4 to 5 years old, 1 new suit, and you're asking for an additional new suit?
Yes.
Thank you.
And this may be trying to jog my own memory. I believe in the previous request there was the cooling unit. Is this just for the mascot suit itself?
This is just for the mascot suit itself. We have 2 cooling units with 2 new sets of cooling packs, as well as we got camelbacks and straws for those camelbacks.
Pretty cold. Yeah, and they need that when it's 110 degrees out and they're wearing a suit 4 days in a row. Any further discussion at this time? Or questions? Thank you. All right, seeing none, we'll vote on this later on tonight. So thank you for your presentation, Scott.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll move to supplemental funding request 1422, Panel Auditorium Digital Audio Upgrade. Theater Arts requesting $97,400. So I'd like to welcome you guys up. You have 10 minutes.
Picture or your request? The picture?
For right now.
Thank you very much for giving us some time today. We would be remiss in our duty if we didn't have a blatant pitch on what's happening this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
We certainly invite all of you to the performances that are happening this next weekend. It's because of the support that we regularly have from this committee as a annual provider that we're able to do the kinds of work that we do in the department, and we appreciate the support and the help it gives our students to do the things which we do. So moving on to our proposal,
I'm sorry.
well, it'll
Say it to
surprise
my
us all.
guest.
It'll all surprise us here in just 1 second. That's fine. It's a little sneak preview of what you might see if you come to the show. This proposal is really coming from a renovation project that happened in 2004. Because of budget overruns and costs of things that weren't expected, this part was cut, and the department has tried over the last almost 10 years now to find ways of improving the sound system. Is actually, in a lot of ways, a good thing that it didn't happen, because we wouldn't have gone to a digital system had we improved it in 2004. We would have been in an analog system. So we're actually looking at moving our entire system to analog, from analog to digital technology, which is really essential for what our students are doing in their training and in supporting other student events on campus and other campus events, other community events that happen in the auditorium. You'll notice that we have been out looking for partners. The provost has committed to $40,000. The Dean of the Arts and Humanities is committed to $10,000. The department is putting in $20,000, and we have another $10,000 in reserve for any cost overruns that might happen with the installation costs. And we're also asking for you to approve, in addition to this request, a change in our spending policy for next year. Because we typically use a significant amount of money to take students to festivals and presentations of their scholarship, we don't need it next year because we're hosting that event. So we're asking for your permission to use $10,000 of our annual allocation to enhance this project and reduce the amount we're actually asking for in the supplemental request. This request isn't a lot different than what the committee entertained 2 years ago with the antenna on the roof with the radio station, where they had a significant piece of infrastructure that needed to be replaced. And that's what we're looking for here. You did get us out. All right. Cool. There is another piece of this request that needs to be kind of aired and let you know what's going on here. We talked with the county commissioners, and they have a grant proposal, a grant process that's supposed to be coming out. It was supposed to come out in mid-March. They were going to be telling us when it was open and encouraged us to apply. We anticipate asking them for $50,000, which basically matches the university's investment and matches the student and department investment, because we have so many people coming from the community using the space. They have not announced that process. And because of that, we're asking the committee to fund the entire amount with the caveat that if the county opens that process, we will pursue that $50,000 from them. But because we know you need to get information to the Board of Trustees, we want to move forward with our project, we're asking you to approve the full amount with that caveat that we'll pursue the city if those things come open. With me is Jason Tuholke. He's our sound design professor. He is the one that's kind of mastermind what we're doing here. I brought him for additional questions. I'm not sure you have anything to present, but probably field some questions if you've got some.
Absolutely. Any questions from the committee at this time?
The county process, is that the hotel tax, or is that a separate?
It was a piece of the hotel motel tax that they were still trying to. They did the advertising section of it and the tourism piece of it, and now there's a capital piece of it that they were supposed to be announcing.
Any further questions at this time, Kathy?
So you said this was in the planning beforehand, correct? A few years ago? How many years ago was that? Again, I missed it. 10 years ago?
Derek?
So I read your request. From what I understood, basically you're looking at not so much of a capital project, but sort of like, let me put it a different way. So for instance, if you didn't get the whole amount, you'd still be able to do quite a bit. It wouldn't stop you, is that correct?
Right, if you check probably one of the last phrases in there, we plan on going with whatever funding we can get. And we may, it can be compartmentalized and componentized.
Okay.
All right. For example, we went to the small grants committee and said we need some subwoofers. We're going to buy one if you buy one. They didn't buy one, we bought one because we need it for this project. Okay, so there are pieces of that we can put off and bring back, but there are some pretty significant pieces that we need some chunks for. But yes, or we'll come back next year and say, could we have some more money to finish off the project?
Eric?
So you're looking at like a priority list that you're replacing as you can, is that right? Or buying as you can?
Well, yes, with the caveat that there are certain things when you move from analog to digital that kind of, there's
Infrastructure.
a certain part of the infrastructure that has to be replaced with pieces that can be added to it.
Any further questions at this time?
I guess just to further on that one, what we don't want to do is move to digital infrastructure with no speakers to play it with. I mean, it would be pointless almost to do all the background work but not have anything to play out of.
Yeah.
Right. So there are some limits to where we can reduce to.
I'm going to limit your questions because John has his hands up. So John, JD, and then Derek.
All right, I had two questions. My first question is why now? Why is it important to do this now? And then my second question is, could you say a little bit about how, if this request is not funded and the auditorium continues to have mainly analog technology, how does that impede or affect the career prospects for our students?
Sure. Why now really is two or three things. The department has been collecting funds to be able to do this, so we have some money to put into it. We've talked the provost into, we pried some money out of her. And we had the county thing that looked like a good prospect. It still seems like a good prospect if they open that up. It's kind of seemed like a perfect storm of opportunities of things coming together. Because we didn't want to come to the committee and ask for you to do this. We wanted a hand up instead of a handout. Okay? As far as how does it work for our students?
I think the biggest thing to consider is the main speakers that are in the auditorium right now are quite archaic. 35 plus years old, and they just don't sound very good. And so we have student designers working on this system who are looking at going into a professional career in this, and they need to be exposed to as much of this newer technology as possible in order to be competitive in the market.
JD, Derek Ashley.
So this, you might have just answered my question, but the longevity of the system that is planned to put in, what does that look like?
Well, that's always a tough topic to speak to, but I would say certainly, ideally, you'd be looking at least 10, 15 years at the very absolute minimum. I think it's hard to predict the future and what might change. 15 years ago, you started to see surround sound systems, and now it's a common thing in people's home theater systems, right? So who knows what the future will I guess, offer us as far as technology, but I think ideally at least 10 to 15 years at an absolute minimum.
I might want to just jump in on that. Your cell phone only lasts for so long because technology changes. And one of the things that we've set up in the department is a plan of maintaining the technology through different funding sources so that we have a plan of upgrading and getting to the things that we need to go. For example, we have 3 soundboards in the department. 2 of them are on an 8-year rotation and 1 of them is on a 5-year rotation. So that we're actually always putting aside this money to be able to upgrade and move forward. So it's not like we're going to use this and in 3 years the technology is going to change, we're going to be back. We're trying to put some infrastructure behind this that we can keep putting those other resources behind and keep moving those other technologies and softwares in there without having to come back and see you.
Derek and Ashley.
What's your break point where you couldn't switch to digital, or you could switch to digital?
Sense of that.
Break point. Well, do you have any of the materials in front of you?
I don't, but I mean, just make it say like how much, what's the bare minimum that you could get away with?
Well, just for, I think what Scott has submitted as the tally right there is pretty much covering the main speaker system, the amplifiers, and the processing behind it. So the digital signal processing that comes with this amp technology, all of that. I think it's close to that. Now, That being said, we don't have to put it all in at the same time. You know, we could put these, they're speakers that you can stack and you can add modules to, right? So it's that's the type of technology we're working with. That being said, you know, I haven't broke it down into the absolute minimum of an array that we can put in, but certainly once we know what funding we have, we're going to talk to our vendors about that possibility.
Ashley?
Numbers are always a tough game to play. You speak briefly about the BSU and other folks from around the community and from around the university utilizing McConnell, but can you speak to an estimated number of students within your department who will have direct educational contact and value from this equipment?
I think any student involved with a theater production. I mean, we have sound for every production that we do, and any of those students on stage are benefiting from it, as well as students who are actually interacting with it firsthand. So,
We've got 130 pages.
Thanks.
but it's more than just that. I mean, in our productions, we have people from outside, in other majors of study, so I think it goes a little bit even beyond what we have for students currently enrolled in.
Yeah, the sound technology that's being used right now is being plugged into orchestra people that are serving us from the music department, and there's, what is their time? 14?
Yeah.
16? So it's
Yeah.
not just here, it does have fingers that
Oh, yeah.
that
I'm a
reach
music
out.
major, I totally get it.
And when the president has presidential addresses there, I mean, this all goes through that system,
Yeah.
right? So I suppose in that regard, it probably gets even larger.
Okay, thanks.
Any further questions from the committee at this time, JD?
Just to clarify, you said earlier in that you had a caveat of if you pursue the 50,000, so just to clarify, that 50,000 that you've got from the county and you've got this full funding was going back to SNA, correct?
Well, yeah, as you're aware, the funding that we get from SNA is on a reimbursement basis. So if we already have the money from the city, we can't get reimbursed. And if we actually had been reimbursed and got money from the city, we'd send that back out to Sharon to be put back into the coffers of SNA.
How confident are you about that grant system right now?
Well, the county commission that I talked to was really positive about it.
Okay.
I'm less positive now because the proposal hasn't been thrown out there that it's open. So I don't even know if they have a process,
Okay.
or if they decided they've got funding to process. So I haven't followed up on that because I was kind of waiting for them to announce the process. But again, as time goes on, I get less positive about their response.
Any further questions at this time? Rob?
Because we can't even vote on this till next week, is there a way to check in with that process before next week, so making it harder?
Sure.
Yeah.
Next week.
I'm meeting next week.
Thursday.
Or so it's the following week,
So that brings up a question for me. Do you have a timeline for the Board of Trustees? Because we would like to move forward with this in August and September, because that's when the theater is empty and not being used. And if we don't get to the Board of Trustees with this proposal in June 4th, we can't move forward with it.
If this is approved in 2 weeks, what date is that? Yeah, it'll go to the June 4th meeting. or-
I would probably talk to George about a special vote, which he has
Yeah.
done for us in the past. And based off of that special vote, then we could.
Is there a July meeting?
Emergency meetings in July.
Uh,
But they don't do this,
It
they don't
depends
this
on,
kind
well,
of
the
stuff.
state has already decided budget,
Yeah.
so that's usually what goes over.
Any further questions at this time? Last call? All right, seeing none, thank you for coming.
Thank you very
We'll
much.
vote on this in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Do you want this stuff? Yeah, I'm gonna. All right, so we'll move on to section 8, old business. Supplemental funding request, voting on 1420, Women in STEM Meet and Geek, or the Ada Lovelace Club is requesting $660. Open up the table for discussion for 10 minutes on that.
I moved to lock the phone down.
Any discussion?
I thought that was one of the most well-organized presentations I had seen this year, and I had no objection to funding that.
There.
Can I make a comment on what you just said?
Go ahead.
I think I agree with you. And I agree that they should be fully funded, though I don't think those things necessarily follow. That really good presentations, people could be funded.
It was well organized. They made a strong case.
They did a good job of.
Yes.
There's lots of graphs.
Oh, yeah. Great presentation. All right, so there's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion at this time? All in favor of the motion? Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion passes. Yeah, they're all. Oh yeah, you guys missed the presentation. That's right. I didn't even. I don't know. You guys missed a great presentation. I do gotta say, you're over there. Great job. I was impressed with the presentation. All right, so now we'll move to subsection 2, 1421 New Wellington suits. I'll leave up the table for discussion for the next 10 minutes. Table's open. Wellington suit. Oh, you were here. I moved it down to vote on tonight. So we're voting. Yeah. Yes, I missed that letter. I'll give you the whole one. Table's open for discussion. Any discussion, Catherine?
All right, so he's requesting $500, which at $12 an hour breaks down to 42 hours. We have, what, 4 weeks left in the quarter. Wellington's really only needed for graduation, so I don't see why we need 42 hours for the mascot.
I would think.
Oh, I need to stay out of this. Just kidding. I'm going to go ahead and relinquish my position as chair on that one. Robert, your chair. I work in the BOD. I can't talk about it. And Miles too.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
The boot! He's over there.
Oh, this is bullshit.
Hey, I'm not my favorite over here.
You should just be able to take your chair and I move away.
You drove me over here, you want?
Jacob, I gotta talk to him.
So there was this.
I'm gonna steal some of your paper.
You need a pen?
Yeah, you got one?
Yeah. It's a G2 though, don't lose it.
I got one.
Alright.
If you were a real class, you'd use a zebra. It's $5 a pen.
All right, so Catherine, JD, then Ashley.
Just kind of run off on that. I would just, apart from, like, I see the reasons for getting a new suit for health reasons. However, at this late in the quarter, although it's needed for the summer orientations, it'd be more appropriate to ask for it in the beginning of next year with possibly new or current vice president in the position and allocating a budget more appropriately.
I agree that I don't think 540 hours is necessarily needed for the rest of this quarter. Because based on his presentation, since you brought that up, I should ask this question. Based on his presentation, is my understanding that the summer is paid, the Wellington is paid differently. Not, this $500 will not go to pay Wellington during the summer. That's my understanding.
And I can kind of speak to that, I think. I used to work with the mascot, and that's under the completely new budget. It's not, this $500 will only go up until
Correct.
this.
Okay, so if that's the case, I don't think that $500 is needed. I think, or I'm gonna say in the amount of hours that it breaks down to 40 hours is needed. I think something more along the lines of like maybe 20, because like you said, there's graduation and any other events that are going on up until then.
Ashley?
I share Catherine and JD's concerns about the $500 allocation for staffing. However, I do believe it is important that we fund the suit at this time instead of in the fall, especially considering the intense hours that are worked over the summertime. I can speak to that. Not that I've been in the suit, but that I've been around it when there's a lot of long hours and long heat. And moving into the fall, I mean, there's going to be time to have the suit made and have it shipped. And if this request were to be made early in fall quarter, the suit may not be here in some of the prime times when we need it. Football season, homecoming, Wellington's wildfire. So I
Wellington's gotta be
support.
there. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but Wellington's got to be at the fire.
So I support funding at this time, but not the $500 allocation for staffing. Thank you.
Robert and JD.
It doesn't really seem appropriate to pay the mascot $12 an hour, just from my standpoint.
JD.
Point of procedure. Can we recognize them as the gallery. 'Cause they're not voting members.
That's true.
Are they gallery now?
What's up?
There.
We have a gallery.
Yes.
Public comment.
So the chair can choose to recognize the gallery, yes.
I choose not to. Do you have a question for them?
Yes, I do have a question.
Both-
Can I recognize?
Yes, you can recognize the gallery.
Okay, so
First off, I'd like to thank you for inviting me.
So, this kind of goes alongside with Mr. Lane's question. As far as determining the pay for that, is that something that wouldn't, is that even changed, can that even be changed at this point in the year? Or is that something that's fixed?
No, you can change pay.
You can change?
Oh,
pay?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm taking $1 off of miles pay tomorrow. I'm just kidding. No, but I know you can change pay throughout the year. So.
Can't even do that.
That's,
Ashley?
I move that the SMA committee allocate $5,887 to the BOD for the purposes of a Wellington mascot suit.
Is there a second? Robert, second.
Second motion. That's mine.
Discussion? Instead of recognize Jake.
Can that motion go toward, not BOD, but the BOD Student Life Facilities budget? Because then it's got to go through Dr. Sharon. Because if you just say BOD,
Sure,
that's,
I'll take a friendly amendment.
well, I can't do that. I can't amend that. So I'm just saying that should be done. 'Cause those
I'll
are
correct, I don't have the
Those are two
specific
different
part of
budgets.
the request in front of me. Yes, I'll allocate to the Vice President for Student Life and Facilities.
All right, so motion was seconded. Robert? Or, sorry, JD, sorry.
I think that there should be, I don't think $500 is I don't think $500 for the fund, for the staffing should be allotted, but I do think that some should be allotted for the staffing, as he did mention, the budget is low and just
Just a point of information, the amount that I moved is minus the 500.
correct, and I'm
Oh, maybe I
discussing,
misunderstood.
I'm discussing that there shouldn't be that $500 there, but there should be like $200 or
Oh.
say just some amount for the staffing. Is what- Just because you mentioned the coffers are low in that budget, and I think that well, however,
Robert.
Just a point of order that since the friendly amendment was approved, that the person who seconded Robert has to agree to the friendly amendment as well.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Sarah, was your hand up?
No.
Oh, okay. Any more
Just trying to hold my
discussion?
head up.
Seeing no more, last call discussion? Okay, Kevin.
Clarification question. So was what JD said about the 200 on the new one or no?
No.
Okay.
The motion on the table is for $5,887, which is just for the suit, does not include any additional money for staffing.
Okay.
So,
I'm just point of clarification there that we can give them that money, and I'm pretty sure it's probably set in stone on how much the suit is going to cost, but we can't tell them necessarily how to spend that money on that extent. So if there's some way that they got a $200 discount on it, that they can still utilize that money too. Not on salary.
If we're saying specifically for that.
Sarah,
Okay. I'm wondering if the gallery can speak to how many hours the suit might be, or how many hours Wellington might need to be in service the rest of the term.
recognize Jake.
I think probably about 8 to 10 hours a week. Yes.
It's a busy
And I would
wildcat.
like, no, I can't say that, never mind.
Well, there's
The VP of Student Life Facilities budget is already negative, so we kind of need to pay money for that, but just a clarification on that, what that budget is. So,
What types of activities is Wellington doing?
I know there's like Happiness Day is coming up, there's club events that he does, there's gonna be.
All right, point of order, we're kind of getting away from the motion on the table.
Okay.
Catherine, and then there was another hand. Was it Catherine, then JD?
Never mind, it's not related to this motion.
Okay, JD?
okay, so originally I was going to ask a question about the student life facilities budget, but now I want to, think we should place an importance on the fact that there is no budget for staffing for things like graduation now.
Are you
So-
trying to have an amendment?
Do you move to amend?
Well, I'm Ashley. I moved to make a friendly amendment to add $200 to your motion with the addition.
I do not accept that, so I would suggest that you make a motion to amend.
Oh, crap. I motion to make a friendly amendment.
No, you motion to
Not
amend.
friendly.
Just motion.
Oh, I motion to amend your motion.
No.
And with an increase of $200 to your staff. For staff.
Good job.
Is there a second?
I second that.
John seconds. Any discussion? Catherine?
I don't think that 200, okay, so say you get paid $10 an hour, we knocked down a little bit, 200, that's 20 hours. With this left in the term, that's still too much, I feel, to be paying for salary.
Derek, then John.
So I believe the gallery just said that it's going to be about 8 to 10 hours per week for the next 4 weeks. That's more than hours that is being asked for. So
So I guess someone can crunch the numbers and find out how many hours minimum wage gets out of 200.
21.
Yeah.
20, so 2 weeks worth of,
Yeah.
John, then Catherine?
I was going to make the same point as Derek, that based on the information we've heard, the $200 is actually not enough to support the additional Wellington operations through the end of the quarter. So it seems like the bare minimum we ought to provide if we're going to go to the trouble of funding these suits and their use. So I support the amendment.
Catherine?
I see the suit as being more for over the summer and that the funding should only cover the basic of what's needed this quarter, which is not 10 hours a week. It'd be at minimum, or at maximum 3 hours a week because someone's not going to stay in the suit for that long anyway. And so really it's graduation we can consider and then special events like Happiness Day, which overall would be 10 hours total.
Okay.
I'm estimating, I'm not in that position, so I can't speak for that.
Jay?
I'm estimating, I'm not the vice president of student life facilities, so I don't exactly know. That's my guess, so. I mean, it's ultimately up to what you guys decide.
All right, any more discussion? Going once, going twice. All those in favor? This is up for the amendment to add $200 to Ashley's original motion. So all those in favor? 7, all right. All those against? Any abstentions? All right, motion passes 7 to 2 to 1. So now we're back to the original motion, which is now $6,007. Any discussion?
7.
Well, it was $5,887 plus 200 jumps it to $6,007. Or, yeah, sorry, $6,087.
There we go.
Yeah. So, seeing no more discussion,
I'll discuss.
okay.
Okay. Well, I just Sharon's making eyes at me.
No,
no, you're fine. We are, it is a fair point that there are events coming up. Mother's Weekend is coming up this weekend, where we're going to have lots of parents on campus who bring lots of younger siblings who are always prospective students for the university. And so it is important that we consider events where Wellington, it's important that he has a presence.
Any more discussion? Anything from the gallery? No, okay. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All those against? 2. Any abstentions? 1. Motion passes 7 to 2 to 1. You defense it? There you go. I guess now we're moving on to financial update. I don't think I want to go to state chair for the rest of the meeting.
You know, you're kind of, every time I look at
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Let's see that look.
Is that the mom look that you're getting sometimes?
It's more of, it's a problem as opposed to just another problem. I know exactly.
Okay.
What are you looking at me like that?
I just, I don't know what you're talking about, I'd like to know.
We'll talk about tables.
Oh, all right. Sharon has the floor. Oh, yeah.
Okay. We talked about this a couple weeks ago just to kind of get an idea of, and this conversation came up in the Learning Commons, is it a good idea to increase our base funding? What is our 2 to 3 year financial outlook, and you know, what are our fund sources? And I need to make this better. So I made a couple changes to this. So right now, I don't know if all of you were here or not, but I had originally estimated for fall, winter, and spring that we would bring in $6 million. We are approximately $148,000 short on bringing that in. And when I did a little research on that, primarily that is because of the increase to tuition waivers that have been instituted on campus that do affect our budget, because S&A fee is a component of tuition. So when a student receives a tuition waiver, they also receive a waiver for the S&A fee. So those have increased. Not wanting to get into the, you know, is it a good decision or a bad decision, but by waiving tuition, it is a method of the university trying to work on increasing our head count and things along those lines. So I'm predicting that we're going to be a little short than what we originally planned on this year. We are not in financial trouble this year or next year, so I want to make sure that people understand that, so when they don't walk away from here thinking, oh my gosh, we're in trouble yet. But we need to be aware of where we are, because the decisions we make today, or even when we were voting on the Learning Commons, do have long-term impacts to where we're going. So one of the things that in the current budget, and I didn't go make a lot of adjustments to this year because we kind of set the budget and we're kind of walking down that path, doesn't mean that we can't make changes. I just would not arbitrarily make a change without the committee saying, yes, we want to adjust this. So we had budgeted $275,000 for supplemental funding. We were at $79,000 until we just voted on the Wellington suit, so it gets us up, and so we're more like $86,000 when we look at STEM 2. So that's okay. I did not go change this for 75. I would not recommend we spend $275,000 this year on supplemental funding, because the amount that we are not collecting from that does help offset some of the $140,000 shortfall. I'm not saying that it should be $100,000, $150,000. I'm just saying you may not want to just go crazy thinking we have $275,000 budgeted, because it does affect our carry forward. So with this, I have $1,065,000 in change that we're going to be carrying forward to start next year's budget, and then we'll bring in fees and stuff. That's probably fairly close, and which will be affected some by what happens with our summer enrollment and what we do with supplemental funding. So right now, the $150,000, we've got about $165,000 that we haven't spent on supplemental funding, so that is helping offset that revenue that we didn't bring in. Another thing to consider, so I'm going to bring up next year, is I just lost my train of thought, I'm so sorry. Next year, when we look at the budget, the head count is not looking to increase. If anything, there's a potential for it to drop some, which will affect our funding. Plus, the the heavy move to try and help increase enrollment, this same tuition policy for the waivers is going to continue. So I'm expecting and I am projecting that same amount of revenue being short next year as well. So let me bring up next year. So next year, when we get into this, so where I had $6 million in this number this year, I have it now dropped down the $150,000 because of the tuition waivers. And then we have our summer enrollments and stuff. For some of you that haven't seen this sheet before, I think that this is fairly new for Pat, although Pat's very versed with the SNA area because he used to do this for the SNA committee. We had separated out, a couple of years ago, I was asked to move aside the things like the bond payment, our obligation for the bond, and our contractual obligations and our reserves. So even though we're looking at $6,200,000, and this is strictly only money available to the SNA fee, it doesn't talk about any of our program revenues or any of those items, the sub and the rec fee, they roll up under the SNA reporting and stuff. It is strictly the money that this committee is working with. So the $1,180,000 is setting aside our bond commitment and our reserves, which leaves this $5 million and change. Here's the about 1,065 that we were discussing that we're looking to carry forward. And then we get into, well, what's our base funding commitment? Right now, our current base funding commitment is $5,395,000 plus the $43,534 that we approved earlier this year is enduring to cover those mandatory pay increases. I put $40,000 in there because it's being talked about, a potential mandatory pay increase. We also have the potential of minimum wage. This committee, the way our policies work, says we will fund mandatory pay increases if it's feasible to the committee. So if we are asked at the beginning of next year to commit up front at the beginning of the year to fund mandatory pay increases, until we know what's going on with the legislature, we might want to say, you know what, we'll decide after in the spring when we know what's going on, what our potential revenue is, and if we choose to support it at that time, we can make them whole for the whole year. We don't have to be permanent when we go forward. So, anyhow, moving forward. So I put, base funding $5,479,000, which leaves $611,000. I put only $100,000 in for supplemental funding until we know what's going on. To put that number at $275,000, I believe puts the funding at risk. And base funding is the priority for the CWUs and for our policies, not supplemental. And there has been students on the committee in the past that have said no, supplemental funding should be our priority, but it is not. And there's a lot of things that drive that. So we just need to keep that in mind. I put $100,000 in. I think that's adequate. Prior to this year, we had committees where we only allocated $130,000, and that included sport club funding. It included the music club funding. So really, it's more of working more to get students to partner with, their share of the paying for part of what they're asking for and stuff. The committee can choose to use a different number than $100,000. I just wanted to put something in to say this would be about what my recommendation is. You guys can choose something different, and we can have discussions when that time comes. So, a couple things I want to point out here. This estimated ending budget is $511,000. We went into $1,065,000. It's quite a drop. That means we're pulling that out, and we don't have that carrying forward. We try to, and it's recommended that we carry forward $300,000 to $400,000. We usually shoot for around $350,000 every year because there are unforeseen circumstances that could come up that are more catastrophic in nature, so that we have that available to our base funded areas. when I say catastrophic, I'm not necessarily talking about the catastrophic event that could happen to this building. I put away reserves for the sub, the rec, and the S&A committee, and we would be looking at the reserves that are on this side. And quite frankly, depending on if there was a major event, there'd be more than just that on the table, because the bond and the maintenance of the building and stuff does have some priorities there. But, so we shoot for around anywhere between 300 and 400,000, with trying to hit more like the 350 area. So I threw some numbers in here, mainly because I had a lot of questions asked about, well, where are we going to be, what we're at. So if I took this $5,536, that's basically, that's without including this 40,000, because I'm saying let's decide that later on towards the year. So if we did disperse 5,500,000, oh, excuse me, now I'm really messing you up. The $5,536,000 is the estimated money that we would have potentially available to us. Our funding costs are $5,479,000 plus the 100. It shows right there we have a negative fund balance of 43,000. So we're utilizing everything we have. And then when you look at, well, if we're going to carry forward something to be reasonable, we would need to add around $300,000 to that. So that gives you an idea of not next year, not FY15, but FY16, where would we be? If the legislature said you could not increase tuition again, and there is no decoupling of the fee, if everything sits as it is, we potentially have a $43,000 shortfall and not adequate funds for a catastrophic event. A couple students asked me, well, what would it look like if we did a 6% cut to our base funding, not for next year, but the following year? What would that gain us? And that is about $328,000, $329,000. So if all of the stars lined up in a pattern that we're not hoping to see, there is a potential for FY16 that we would need to say, you know, base funding programs, we support you, we're committed to you, but we have to pass along this cut to ensure that the committee funds are stable.
Which that amount looks pretty similar to what you want to carry forward.
Yes.
Derek?
Can I ask you a question about that 6%?
Yeah.
6%, we're talking about 6% off of the base allocation.
Correct.
Okay. But some of the base allocation we couldn't decrease.
I'm only looking at the base allocation that we can decrease. For instance, we can't decrease the bond.
Right. But so I was under the impression that the bond was part of the base allocation. It's not.
It is part of the base allocation, but because of the contractual obligations that we have with the bond, we cannot decrease that. It has a higher priority than our other base funded programs.
Okay, so when we're talking about the 6%, we're talking about 6%, not 6% of the total allocation, but 6% of the total allocation that we could cut.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. A couple students asked, well, what can we do to be proactive? They said, can we cut next year? And I said, well, you could vote to do that. It probably would not fly because we're going to carry forward $1 million. We are predicting next year we'll have a $500,000 carry forward, and to impact the programs sooner, potentially, I mean, stability of programs is important, and whether the Board of Trustees would approve that cut, knowing that we're going to carry forward 500 anyhow. If we cut them next year, it would be an extra 328. To get a budget cut approved so that we can carry forward $850,000 is probably unlikely. Right, but what I did say might be wise and prudent is for us to send them a letter to say, there is this potential out here in order to mitigate the potential impact of a huge future cut, that we will, you might want to think about carrying forward funds now and saving them. That's part of the reason we do have a 4-year funding carry forward, is so that they can budget accordingly to minimize impacts in one year versus another. And then you're putting it in their hands to determine, wow, maybe even this year I might want to carry forward a little bit more, and next year, so I can further mitigate that. I mean, once we are at the point where we know what the legislature is going to say, this committee next year will be saying, to what level do we want to raise the fee, and to what level we can raise the fee to be able to fully fund our programs.
You wrote a letter. Do you have that copy with you?
Can we first see, does everybody understand the numbers? Okay. So, the letter that I was asked to write, do you all want to read it, or do I need to read it out loud?
I think we can read it. We can read it.
Okay, great. Let me know when you want me to scroll down, though. I don't want to make it too small. Okay, I'm going to slide it just a little. Oh, sorry. Any questions?
Everyone had a chance to read the letter? Any questions about the letter? Or discussion? John?
I'm just thinking, I like the letter, it's very clear, but I think many people who get this might wonder what is the potential cut in their budget. So I wonder if it would be useful to tell them that under kind of a baseline scenario with steady enrollment and no increase in tuition for FY16, base funding might be cut approximately 6%, just to give them an idea of what the cut could be without committing obviously to that number.
Okay.
Ashley?
Although I agree with your sentiments, John, that whenever you start talking about cuts, folks want to know how much. That's the first thought that they have. I think as a committee, and as Sharon and Joey issuing this letter, it might be in our best interest not to say until we know more. Until, if things are suddenly twice as dire as we expect, and we had sent a letter with 6% and we're going to have to actually cut 8%. We would really come back and
put
put
a
us.
range if
Yeah.
we're going to put anything in.
JD?
Yeah, I want to echo what Ashley just said. I think it's very important. And I think in order to be proactive in this, just to kind of, say, let them understand that we are still unsure of what's going to happen, is to say, if there are any cuts to be made, the committee during the time, like in maybe FY15 or even hopefully not FY16, we'll have to make those decisions. And so that they know that it's clear that it's not, we're looking out for years to come. We still don't have enough information, and that might even be proactive in that, with that.
I think I have to agree with John on this one. In my position in the BOD, I look at the budget, and if I got this letter and I had no clue, like if wasn't the chair on this committee, and I just got this letter, I would be like, well, how much do I need to carry forward. Like I had this, I wanted to buy, some $2,000 item out there. Can I still buy it but have enough, So I think a range would be a good idea, maybe 6 to 10%. Because I know a 10% cuts the BOD budget, that's $15,200. That's 2 officer positions. You would be without 2 student government officials. That's a lot of money. So I think it is important to put a range so we know what we need to carry forward. That's my 2 cents. Ashley?
That being said, I would support a range. I think that's a smart. I like the way you do that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Derek?
How about 6 to 10%?
Okay, I will incorporate a range. I'm assuming by this discussion, we do want to send this letter out.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I will add some verbiage to say potential cut ranging from 6 to 10% in the FY16 calendar year should no changes occur to headcount or tuition rates.
Any? Ashley?
I'll move that the committee support the letter written by Sharon, including the verbiage about a range of potential cuts to base money.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Derek? Any discussion? All in favor of the motion? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Sharon. Very well written.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. We'll move to section 9, other business communications received. I did not receive any, did you?
Elections tomorrow.
Yeah. Miles just communicated, I just received it, that elections are tomorrow. So I had that written to say it during public comment, but I'll say it now. Any public comment? I have public comment. BOD elections are tomorrow, east and west patio of the circ. So you guys do have a voice, so I encourage you to vote for your officials next year, as well as approving the BOD Constitution, as well as the Learning Commons fee. Miles?
But my candidates, you vote online. Vote online candidates.
There's no way
Okay.
to vote in person.
Ashley?
I would just like to let the committee know, it sounds like the next meeting will be the 21st.
That was my next point of,
Oh, perfect. I will not be able to attend.
okay, all right. Oh, is that evening of recognition?
It is.
Oh, I can't do that either. Okay, for all committee members going to evening recognition, raise your hand. For all, for all committee members that are potentially or will be going to evening recognition, that includes newly elected officers, if you guys get in, raise your hand. So it looks like we are gonna have a very small committee and no chair on May 21st. What can we do about that?
Well, what'll happen is you'll take roll call, you'll determine there's no quorum, so there cannot be a vote during that time, if that comes to fruition.
Okay.
That would, who did you mess up, Scott?
It'd be one more time, yeah.
June 2nd.
And we would still vote on May 28th, which is my birthday. And then that would still get through to June, so.
Let's go.
Well,
Like I said, I would need to talk to John about it.
in either
But
circumstance you would,
We
right?
cannot vote without quorum.
Robert,
Well,
Should we move?
I think we should move it 1 week. We have no chair, no parliamentarian, 1 day.
Yeah, do it Tuesday instead of Wednesday.
Yeah?
Tuesday, 5:45?
I
I'm
got
talking
class all
about on the
day.
21st. Not the source, the source. Because we,
How many members can meet Tuesday at 5:45?
Tuesday the 20th.
May 20th.
Yes.
I would have to be late. I have class until 5:40.
Oh, that's fine. We can meet in the beauty conference room. I'd like to entertain a motion to move the May 21st meeting to May 20th at 5:45. That's the Tuesday, to meet in the BOD conference room. No, but we'll switch. There's no chairs. She said there's no venue, right?
Well, no, I just said that the venue may be a
Oh.
problem. We should consider.
Okay,
Venue
I
to-
rescind that
venue to-
entertainment.
no, with venue to be determined.
With venue to be determined, yes.
You let us know.
Yeah, we'll email the committee.
So move with the venue.
TBT? Okay. Is there a second?
Actually, I had a question on that.
Is there a second? Catherine, second. Any discussion? There.
Yeah. don't we, isn't there like transparency issues
That's-
with moving to some, I don't
As
know.
long as it's published.
We have to publish it within 24 hours and have it out from.
Open public meeting act states it has to be published, 24 hours, online and in paper. So, we'll post it on this store, and if we do move,
Signs that are outside.
Right. And we probably want to publish it more than just 24 hours.
Yes.
well, yeah, that's just legally, so. To answer your question. Any further discussion? All in favor of moving the meeting to May 20th at 5:45? Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion passes, and the location will be to be determined.
Who made that motion?
Ashley.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Miles,
So moved.
is there a second? Josh, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Meeting adjourned at 7 p.m.